Welcome to Wine Times, the recipe section. I'm here with Vanessa in Cook's Academy, and today we're going to have an absolutely fantastic example of a great dish to have with a family occasion, the 21st, a family get-together, something that will really bring all your friends and family around. A dish I think would work brilliantly with spicy red wines, something you really enjoy. So Vanessa, what is the dish we're going to have a go at today?
Well, today we're going to do a lovely lamb tagine, which is perfect, as you say, for entertaining, and especially this time of year in spring, but really at any time of the year. Well, Barry, the ingredients for this dish, the lamb tagine, very North African ingredients. Of course, leg of lamb cut into small chunks, and you can trim off any excess fat. And lovely spices, very typical of North Africa: cumin, coriander, turmeric, saffron, 3 cloves of garlic, cinnamon stick, ginger, sliced up onion, coriander, fresh coriander leaf, and some lovely fruits such as sultanas, apricots, and a tomato-based sauce for the lamb tagine. We're going to also serve it with couscous, and we're going to put some saffron in the couscous just to give it a lovely, lovely yellow colour as well.
Lovely.
So the first thing to do for our lamb tagine is to seal off our meat. So add some oil to the pan. A hot pan is good because the oil always expands. And then we're going to add our lamb once the oil is, we'll add our lamb just in batches because you don't want to crowd the pan. This is the Cook's Academy top tip. If you crowd the pan, the meat will start to steam.
Okay.
So a nice high heat to start.
Vanessa, tell me, I know the name tagine, it has a North African connotation. What actually is it? What does it mean?
A tagine is a pot. It's a dish named after the pot in which a stew is cooked.
Oh, right.
It's a heavy clay earthenware dish, and it's a very shallow bottom, and then it's got a conical lid.
Oh, right.
And the process is there's a hole in the top of the lid, and the water's poured down, and condensation is created. And it's just a long, slow cooking of the meat, and it gives you lovely melt in the mouth.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So the big thing about North African cooking per se is meat with fruit and nuts, is how they combine those flavours.
Yeah, absolutely, and they do it really, really well. We're using sultanas and apricots today, and you can add nuts as well, like almonds, so they do that a lot. And we're not even using a tagine pot today, we're just going to use any
because people won't have that at home anyway,
exactly,
so they need to use.
Yeah.
And what other fruit apart from apricots and sultanas could you use?
You could use prunes instead. Some people use caramelised onions for that sweetness. Again, and but really just to get the sweetness, some people add honey as well to the dish, which is perfect. So once the meat is browned, we just transfer it to a pan and start with the next batch of meat.
Super.
So Barry, once we've finished our meat, we're going to cook off our onions. So just add a little bit more oil to the pan just to make sure that they don't stick. And we'll add in our sliced onions there. Turn your heat down as well if it's going to be spitting too much. And then just stir them around for a few minutes until they soften slightly. Okay. The garlic. Oh, this is the ginger. Can you see that?
Great smell. Tell me, I see garlic, I see ginger, I see lots of spices. Whenever you work with that, I always find the next day that the smell seems to linger on my fingers. I'm self-conscious maybe, but is there any trick that you could recommend that might get around that?
I think people do lots of different things, and maybe a little bit of lemon juice. Washing your hands, a little bit of lemon juice, as long as you've no cuts. And or even sometimes just a little bit of light oil on your hands before you're working with them. But then if you're holding a knife, that might not work. So really a lemon juice washing,
super.
Is a good,
astringent. I'll remember that the next time.
It cuts through the smells a little bit.
Super. So what's the next part of the process?
So once your onions are cooked, you can start to add all your lovely spices. Now, cumin is a fantastic, very much used spice. Your coriander. The turmeric is going to add that lovely colour. It's a very earthy flavour as well. The strands of saffron, that's the most expensive spice you can buy. That goes in there. That adds a lovely colour as well. We'll add a little bit more oil if your spices are catching a little bit, because you want the natural oils in the spices to come out just by slow cooking.
Super.
We're also going to add some ginger, a cinnamon stick, which is a bit of sweetness as well in the dish.
It's in whole, you don't break that.
And then just stir them through the onion. Whole cloves of garlic, which will soften in the long, slow cooking. and then we'll let them cook a little bit.
Great
and then we're going to
smell.
add the lamb back to the pan with the sauce.
Actually, when you mentioned saffron, I remember being on a trip with the Restaurant Association of Ireland to Barcelona, and it was a market, and everybody came back with saffron because obviously it was better value they could get it there. So inexpensive addition
Exactly,
to any
and you
meal.
have to be careful because there's some very unscrupulous merchants who try and fob off other things that aren't, or turmeric, instead of the saffron. So you have to smell it, and it is very distinctive as well.
Good.
So we'll add that. Now the last thing we're going to add is our tomato sauce. So that's just chopped tomatoes. And that would be very common in all the North African dishes. And then some chicken stock. And you can always top that up with a little bit of extra water if you need to. So once your meat has been brought to the boil with all the sauce in it, you can actually bring it to the oven. So we'll put our lid on that.
Okay.
Would you mind opening the door for me, Barry?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And how long will this stay in the oven, and at what temperature?
Well, 150 degrees for this particular tagine. But if you cut your chunks of meat very, very large, you'd actually leave it in for another half hour, so maybe 2 hours. This is going to be for an hour and a half. And I'm going to take it out maybe 20 minutes before it's ready and add our lovely sultanas and apricots as well.
Super, super, great stuff.
So now, Barry, we're going to check our lamb tagine in the oven.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is assume that it's been cooking nicely, the meat should be very tender, but we want to add in our lovely fruit that goes in the recipe as well. So that looks fabulous.
Fabulous.
Now, things like we said apricots, sultanas are a nice ingredient as well. They're all adding lovely sweetness to go with all these spices. And you could even add in, I have some flaked almonds which I could put in my couscous, or else maybe I'll just throw a few in here as well. But that's totally optional as well.
Fantastic. And then does this continue to cook for?
We'll put that back in the oven for about 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay.
You want to open the door there, Barry?
Absolutely.
And they'll soften really nicely, that fruit, while it's in the oven as well.
Fantastic.
So now we're going to make the couscous to go with the lamb tagine.
Okay. So what do we have in the couscous so far?
Well, just a couscous in a Pyrex bowl. I'll explain why that is later. And we'll just put little saffron strands in there just to make it a nice colour. I'm also going to stir a little bit of oil through the couscous. That just gives it a little bit of warmth and flavour. And the other things we're going to put in, I'll just stir the oil through, are some sultanas. Again, with the Moroccan cookery, whether you're doing it with the tagine or not. Just think of nice flavours you can add to your couscous. And then the last thing is to just add some boiling water to cover the couscous normally. And then we're going to cover it with cling film, and that should absorb all the water. So now we should be ready to serve our lamb tagine. If you just close the door there, Barry.
Wow.
Delicious. That meat has been cooking for so long, it should really be gorgeous. And what I'll do first is just put the couscous. So when the couscous is ready, you just fluff it up with a fork. That releases some of the steam. And we've got our sultanas in there and a little bit of saffron. Pop this on the plate. So again, another real crowd pleaser as well. I think people love Moroccan food. It suits any taste, really. And our tagine. It even smells delicious. All those gorgeous spices that have been absorbed in the meat.
Fantastic.
And even the garlic in there is giving great flavour. And just the last thing, a bit of colour as well, which I think it really adds to it, is just a little bit of coriander over the plate. And just a little garnish there. So again, a lovely dinner party dish, which really most people will really enjoy. And we do it a lot in our winter soups and casseroles, of course. It's very popular.
So from the wine point of view, normally when lamb is mentioned, I always think of rioja, but because this has got the spice of the Moroccan flavours, I think you're probably looking for something with a bit more attitude, something heavier, something like a Shiraz, a Pinotage, or a Zinfandel, something that has a lot of spice and pepper, and I think that would work brilliantly well. So really, really, as you say, a great crowd pleaser. Fantastic.